Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for attending this pre-departure briefing. This is a yearly briefing that British Council organized to provide useful information to all our UK-bound students. So let's go to the next slide. So for housekeeping, please note that this webinar will be recorded and a copy of the slides and recording will be sent to you within 3 days after the webinar. There will be a Q&A session at the end, and you may use the chat feature to type your questions. Some questions are also answered in the FAQs that we send together with the confirmation email, so do refer to that before you ask again. Next, I'd like to introduce our panel of speakers for today. We have here with us Jasril Goh, the Director Malaysia for British Council, Elizabeth Tresnan, Study UK Director, Prabha Sunjam, Head of Education, myself, Yen, Study UK Senior Manager. We have also Jamie from the UKVI, Hashimi Ko, she is a current student, and also finally Edwin Li Jian Zhang, an alumnus. So next. Right, so let us start with a welcome address by Country Director Jasril Goh. Over to you, Jasril.
Thank you, Yen, and hello everyone. Really nice to see you all. It's fantastic to see that we are joined today by so many students and parents. Thank you so much for taking the time to attend. I would first like to wish a huge congratulations to all of you who have received a place to study at a UK higher education institution for this coming autumn. Malaysia students who choose to study in the UK are the backbone to Malaysia-UK relations, and you guys will help to build mutual trust and understanding between our two countries. And Malaysia is a key country for UK universities. We value the diversity and academic contribution that Malaysian student brings to the UK. The international connections forged by Malaysia-UK students enrich the UK's academic life and communities across the UK. And this is an exciting time for all of you. I'm sure you'll never forget your time studying in the UK with great experiences and friendships that will last a lifetime. With a global reputation for research and academic excellence, the UK is of course the perfect place to discover your talents. Academics and employers across the globe admire and respect the formidable reputation of the UK's education system, and our graduates are among the most employable in the entire world. And that's because our universities and our colleges consistently top world rankings. 2 of the world's top 3 universities can be found here in the UK, and a further 26 of our universities and colleges are among the world's 200 best institutions for learning. And this is why the UK is one of the most popular study destinations in the world, and a place where your well-being is also a top priority. And so you'll feel safe and secure as you meet students from every country, make important friendships, and meet with students from diverse cultures, all in the home of the English language. In addition, international students who completed their degree will now be allowed to stay in the UK for up to 2 years after you finish your undergraduate or master's via the graduate route. And this is a huge opportunity for you to explore job opportunities and to be exposed to international working experience. Of course, starting a new course and moving overseas is a significant undertaking, and we know that you will have lots of questions. Today's session is a great opportunity for you to hear from the British Council, UK Visas and Immigration, alumni and current student about some of the key things you need to prepare, as well as what to expect from your UK studies. Universities are preparing to deliver high-quality teaching in line with government guidance that ensures the health and safety of everyone remains top priority. And in the UK, your well-being comes first. It is the #1 priority to ensure that all students are safe and supported. A very warm welcome is waiting for each and every one of you. The UK's open and inclusive way of life will inspire you. Our rich cultural history will fire your imaginations, and you'll be able to develop your best and brightest ideas by studying in the UK. But more importantly, when you're back, please do sign up and join the Alumni UK network. This is where all students who have graduated from the UK will gather virtually to share their experiences, to network, and to explore opportunities together. So please do remember to sign up on the Alumni UK website. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed the rest of this session. I wish you all the very, very best with your studies, and I look forward to reconnecting with all of you through the Alumni UK platform. Thank you all and good luck.
Thank you very much for your inspirational speech, Jasril. Yes, to everyone out there, please do remember to sign up for this alumni platform. Don't worry, this slide will be sent to you, so you will have the link together in the slide. So moving on in the next slide. The presentation is designed to provide you with information to assist you in your preparations for living and studying in the UK. So we have here, for example, pointers like before you leave home, traveling to the UK, arriving in the UK, studying in the UK, living and also looking after yourself in the UK. Next, we have to help your preparation and to put plans in place to travel to the UK when possible, we strongly advise you to stay in touch with your university and listen to their advice. So in this section, we will cover information from your UK universities or institution, a checklist of things to arrange before you arrive in the UK, and also to prepare to study and live online and live online course. Your place of study should have sent you information. Read it all very carefully, and we recommend that you start making preparations as soon as you can. It may include information on practical life skills, academic matters, language and cultural preparation, arrival in the UK, as well as advice on immigration, managing your money, health, and guidance for students with disabilities. You will be given deadlines for confirming services such as accommodation, meet and greet, orientation briefings, and emergency numbers to use should you require assistance on your journey to the UK. Moving on to the next slide. So a checklist of things to arrange. Firstly, travel insurance. You should take out travel insurance to cover your journey to the UK. This will cover you in the case of any medical emergencies, for lost baggage, or flight delays or cancellations. Medical insurance, when you paid for the immigration health surcharge as part of your visa application, you are entitled to free NHS treatment. If you are coming to the UK for less than 6 months or on a visitor visa, you do not have the option of applying for this and are required to take out adequate travel and medical insurance for the duration of your stay. Your university or college should have sent you information about arrival, including a phone number for support. Keep this number with you when you travel. Check to make sure you have this. If you can't find it, please contact your institution. This will seem obvious, but make sure you know the address of where you need to go to get to. Print or write this down. Don't rely on your phone, tablet for essential information like this. Next, okay, this is an online course that we are preparing for all the students. It's hosted on the Future Learn online course platform. This 4-week free online course will teach you everything they need to know about UK higher education, including teaching methods, course structures, and how coursework will be assessed. It will also provide you with tips for studying in the English language and practical information about living in the UK. By completing the online course, you will be more confident, feel better prepared, and get the most from your experience of studying and living in the UK. During the course, there will also be plenty of opportunities for you to interact with others, like-minded individuals who are preparing for their UK education. Who knows, you may even start making friends before you arrive in the UK. This online course is provided twice a year. You can see the next available dates on the registration page, and once registered, students will receive a notification when the next course starts. You can actually see the link in the chat section. My colleague will be posting it there. Moving on to the next slide. We will now talk about packing, what to pack, what not to pack. So next. Okay, so ensure you have suitable clothing for the season you will arrive in. So they have autumn, which is September to November, winter from December to February, spring from March to May, and summer from June to August. You may also want to take a few sets of formal or traditional wear. You may not want to buy winter coat before you arrive, as it will take up a lot of room in your main luggage. There are plenty of reasonable options for purchasing warm clothing in the UK. If you take medication, make sure you have enough to take with you. You will be able to arrange a new prescription once you have registered with a doctor in the UK. Next, we now look at what to pack in your carry-on luggage. So a valid passport and visa, your travel ticket and departure details, the offer letter from your university, which is a CAS, confirmation of your accommodation, for at least your first night in the UK, confirmation of your medical insurance, copies of your bank drafts or information about your bank accounts, contact details for your university or institution, information about your airport, train station pickup if required, and UK money to cover your immediate needs. Next. Okay, now we look at what not to pack in your luggage. This will include banned and restricted items such as drugs, weapons, indecent and obscene materials, pepper spray and counterfeit goods, and restricted foods such as meat and meat products, all milk and dairy products, potatoes, fruit and vegetables, egg products, fish and fishery products. Moving on to the next section, we will talk about your arrival in the UK, getting to your place of study, registering your stay, and settling in and traveling. So next, there are not currently any COVID-19 restrictions in place for entering the UK, but remember to always check the latest travel advice before you travel, as things can change at short notice. We know how daunting moving to another country can be, and we want to reassure you that universities are working hard to ensure that you know what to expect before you travel to the UK and are welcome and supported on arrival and throughout your time at university. This includes airport pickup services, mental health and well-being support, food and grocery deliveries, a range of induction activities so you can start to prepare for your studies and meet your fellow students. Remember to stay in touch with your university as you make your travel plans so that they can ensure you are supported on arrival and throughout your time in the UK. Next, we will look at arriving in the UK. When you arrive at the airport, follow the arrival signs to immigration or passport control. After passing the immigration or passport control, move onwards to baggage reclaim to collect your luggage. Move on to the custom control and exit using the correct lane. If you're traveling with no ban or restricted goods, take the green lane. And if you have goods to declare or if you are unsure, then use the red lane. Moving on, before you travel, please ensure you have a contact number in hand in case you require assistance when you reach the UK. This should be in the International Student Advisory Service at your place of study. If possible, also ensure you have emergency or out of hours contact number in case you arrive late or have any difficulties making your way to your institution. It is important that you keep your university informed of your travel plans. They may be able to offer additional support on arrival, such as transportation to your university. If you are making your own way, there may be a number of transport options depending on how far your institution is from your arrival airport, including bus, coach, train, or tube. Taxis can be very expensive, so try and plan your journey before you arrive or speak to the information desk at the airport about the best options for your onward travel. Most airports have good rails or bus links or coaches that are often available for longer distance travel. If you are not sure of the best mode of transport or encounter any difficulties when you arrive, the airport information desk in the arrival hall at the airport will be able to provide you some assistance. Okay, next we look at registering your stay. So biometric residence permit, your visa will be issued for a period of 30 days, which provide you with time to travel to the UK, and then you must collect your biometric residence permit, which contains your permission to stay longer. You should collect your BRP within 10 days of your arrival and register with the police within 7 days of getting your BRP. Register with your place of study. Your university will advise you on how to do this. So moving on to the next slide, we will cover about your safety, teaching at the universities, career support, and options after your studies. Next. Now, although the UK has removed COVID-19 restrictions, student safety remains top priority in the UK. Each UK university has dedicated staff to support international students at every step of their journey, from application to preparing for travel to supporting you on arrival and throughout your time at university. Hand sanitizer is widely available across UK campuses, and face coverings are advised in crowded spaces. Visit the COVID-19 guidance for the part of the UK that you are studying in to get more information. We want you to feel welcome and at ease when you arrive in the UK, and would like to reassure all international students that UK universities are ready to welcome you. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact your university directly. Moving on to the next slide. As the UK has removed all COVID-19 restrictions, universities can now teach all classes in person. They are preparing to deliver high-quality teaching this academic year, while still ensuring that your well-being remains top priority. Do contact your university for advice and support about your course and your personal circumstances. Next. We will talk about career support while you study. So there is a huge variety of career support on offer at UK universities. All UK universities have dedicated career advisors who can give you tailored advice on career development, and some universities even have dedicated career advisors for international students. All UK universities host job and careers fairs to help you connect with prospective employers, both in the UK and around the world. Many professors are leaders in their field, so you can also learn from their expertise. There are a whole host of work placements, internships, and voluntary work on offer, both as part of certain courses and through UK universities in general. Take advantage of all these opportunities throughout your studies, not just when you're about to graduate. This will help you to gain skills, experience, and connections throughout your time in the UK, and help you set up for the best possible next step in your career. In the next slide, we will discuss about options after your studies. After graduation, you may want to go into further study, return to Malaysia to work somewhere else in the world, or stay and work in the UK. The graduate route welcomes international students to apply to stay in the UK and work, or look for work upon graduation. International students who have successfully completed an undergraduate or master's degree have the opportunity to apply to stay in the UK for up to 2 years after their studies. PhD graduates can apply to stay for up to 3 years. This route is unsponsored, which means you don't have to have a job offer to apply. You can use the 2 or 3 years to gain work experience, freelance, undertake an internship, or work in the UK. You can switch into skilled work routes once you have found a suitable job. Our colleague from UKBI will discuss more about this later. Moving on to the next section. We will now invite Elizabeth Tresnan to discuss about living and looking after yourself in the UK. So over to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Jan, and thank you for the introduction as well. So my name is Elizabeth Tresnan and I'm the Study UK Director. So in this section this afternoon, we're going to look at living in the UK, and we will cover accommodation, money and managing your finances, UK culture and food and drink. Thank you, Andrea. So first of all, it's that feeling of what will it be like when I get to the UK. So in this section, we're going to look at settling in and adjusting to UK life. The UK is a really friendly country and many people will help you adjust to your way of life. Staff at the university are your first port of call. They will give you some advice about settling in and help you adjust to living in the UK. But it's always important to be prepared for the food, the way our transport works, and of course, the British weather. Okay, thank you, Andrea. So travel and that accessibility to transport. So travel and transport options will vary across the UK, but in general, we do have good road and rail networks, bus and taxi services, as well as those internal flights from, say, London up to Scotland. It is recommended, and you will see a lot of people wearing a face covering on public transport in the UK. So if you need some further information about what it's like to travel around the UK, always go to the Study UK website for your first port of call, and it will give you some advice about what it's like. And then the UK's transport system is designed to be accessible to all. So if you do have a disability or a special requirement, please do look at the guidance that we offer you there on the Study UK website. Thank you. So I think the big question when you're moving to the UK is, what will my accommodation look like? So the first thing that you need to do is talk to your university about the options that are available. There is some guidance on the Study UK website, but it's your university that will be that first port of call. So if you ask them any questions that you're concerned about with your accommodation, they will be able to provide you with that advice. So universities and institutions do provide accommodation, but there's also private accommodation as well. So that might be more suitable to your requirements, and private accommodation will be managed by a landlord and you will have an agreement with an individual, as opposed to the university if you go for university accommodation. I'm sure you've all started thinking about it, but if you haven't, really do consider your accommodation options. So as I said before, go to the Study UK website and please do get in touch with your university. Thank you. So moving on, so the other big question is, how will I manage my finances? So some of you may be in a position where you've managed your finances yourself in your home country, but coming to the UK is that next step of independence. So we suggest that you open a bank account as soon as you arrive in the UK. Now, all the universities will be able to advise you of what banks are available around the university, so they will be able to give you some advice. And UKESA, which is an organisation that gives specific advice to students, they will also be able to, if you go to the link there on this slide, they will be able to give you some advice about opening a bank account. So there's certain steps that you will need to take. I would advise you not to bring large amounts of cash. You don't want to be carrying large amounts of cash with you when you first arrive. So any option where you've got a card or contactless, something that you can use as safety, please bring that with you. But just to let you know, card and contactless payments are very common in the UK, even down to going to a local shop. A lot of those shops will have contactless, so you'll be able to use your card to pay for everything. Okay, next slide, please. So moving on, so let's think about living costs now. So they will really depend on your accommodation type and how much you travel and where in the UK you're studying. So if you are going to be studying in London, it will be more expensive than if you were studying in Belfast, for instance. So it's really important that you're realistic about what your living costs will be. Don't just assume that a small amount will cover everything, because it will be expensive in London as opposed to somewhere like Belfast. So what you need to do is consider those, and the university will also give you that advice as well. They will be able to say, this is how much it should cost for a week or a month, and really look at that advice that you're given. Thank you. So the cost of living, as I said, does vary across the UK. But so if you're thinking about budgeting, you should expect to budget between 800 and 1,300 a month to cover your rent. As a bit of a rule, and something that I always say to international students, whatever you're planning to spend, your accommodation should be half of those living costs. So the other half of those living costs, so you've paid out for your accommodation, and the other half should be spent on bills, entertainment, so having that great student experience that we always talk about, and those living costs like your food and transport. As I said, the university will be able to give you those specific advice on the area that you're living in, and also refer to the Study UK website. Thank you, Andrea. Student discounts, and I think this is something that everybody's quite excited to find out what discounts I can get if I'm a student. And I know a lot of UK students do use these offers when they're planning their budget. So the National Union of Students has a card, and it enables you to get discounts at shops, restaurants and some businesses. So please do join the National Union of Students. You can also find more information there at those links there. And then if you are thinking about travelling around the UK, and this is something that's so important to your experience of living as an international student, I would really highly recommend that you get some discounted travel as well. Thank you. So culture and leisure, this is your opportunity to explore what's available in the UK. So there'll be many clubs and societies for you to join at the university, and you can go and speak to the student union there, who will be organising lots of social functions as well. Some UK universities will have their own cinemas on campus, offering you a chance to watch the best films at discounted prices. So when you first arrive in the UK, go and see what your university has to offer, and then you can start to explore the wider remit of the university. Thank you, Andrea. But culture and leisure doesn't just stop at the university. Off campus and around the UK, we have a wealth of arts and culture, music, cinema and sport. So really do explore the museums and the theatres. We have some wonderful venues for music across the O2 Arena in London and the world famous Glastonbury Festival, which has just finished. You'll also see many artists and bands playing, perhaps even at UK universities as well, but also have a look what those small bars and cafes have to offer as well. Cinema's massive in the UK, and it's really something that since COVID has really started again to encourage people to come and visit the big cinemas and see those films being released. And sports, well, if you love football and you love athletics and you love all sorts of different sports, the UK is a great place to see that. Thank you. And food and drink, I'm sure you're slightly concerned about what the UK has to offer in terms of food and drink, but there is a large array of different restaurants, takeaways and food halls wherever you will be living when you come to the UK. We do have supermarkets and specialist food shops, so please look about what's available in your area. But please note that to drink alcohol, you must be over the age of 18, and I would suggest bringing some identification as well. This is something that it will be asked of you if you don't look the right age or the age that you're allowed to be. And we have lots of food supermarkets there, and you can see them listed. But we also have local takeaway restaurants as well, which will deliver to your accommodation. You might also be interested in doing some cooking while you're here, or continuing what you would do at home. So there is some advice there on the HelloFresh app as well. And just to let you know, you can drink the tap water in the UK. So please feel free to bring those recyclable bottles and fill up your water before you go to university. Thank you. So looking after yourself. So what I'm going to just cover in here, just a short section about the help and advice that is available for you, what the NHS offers, your personal safety, and obviously abiding by the UK law. So thank you. So in terms of help and advice, please don't be afraid to reach out to somebody. The worst thing that can happen is that something happens and you don't know what to do. So please reach out to people. And we've given you a couple of suggestions there: the Student Welfare Service or Student Health Centre, your tutor, academic supervisor. Please tell them if something has happened, because they will want to help you. There'll also be an international office at the university. Accommodation officers will always be keen to help you, and also the student union. We've also given you links to other organisations that would like to help you as well. But please don't be afraid to reach out and ask for support. People in the UK would love to help you, and we don't want you to feel as though you're unable to talk about what's happened. We've also suggested there that you might want to contact a place of worship as well if you are of a religious persuasion or whatever. So please do feel that you can return to a lot of people if you do need that support. So moving on to the NHS is something that will we can provide subsidised treatment and healthcare to international students. So I know there's already been a question in the chat about the immigration surcharge. So please do refer to the chat because you can see how much that's cost. And there's also more information on the Study UK website to help you for that. If you have to pay for the immigration health surcharge as part of the visa application process, and this will allow you to access medical care, in particular consulting a GP, accidents and emergency at a hospital, any diagnosis of sexually transmitted diseases, and also getting the COVID-19 vaccination. It's really important that you do register with the GP as soon as you come to the UK. Thank you. So there are other charges of as part of the NHS that you will be charged for, and that's some medicines prescribed by a doctor. So you might have to pay for those. So always ask the doctor for advice on that. Eye tests and eye care. Everybody in the UK pays for the eye tests and eye care, and also dental treatment as well. Vaccinations, although some of these are free, including the vaccine for COVID, some other vaccinations, if you're thinking of travelling, you may have to pay for those vaccinations. Thank you. So as I've said before, you can register with the local doctor where you live, and the doctor is known as the GP in the UK. So you can either register with the local GP on campus or at a local student medical centre. You will need your passport, student identification, proof of address and a photograph. So if you should have those with you, but please remember to take those when you register for a GP. Your GP can refer you to the National Health Service dentist as well. And we've also given you links there to which you can check on if you've got any queries about your health. So there's one for England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, depending on where you're studying. Thank you. So the COVID-19 vaccine, we've had a massive rollout here in the UK, but international students can access the COVID-19 vaccine in the UK. So anybody in the UK is eligible for COVID-19 vaccine, regardless of nationality or immigration status. But you will need to register with the GP and get an NHS number if you haven't been vaccinated and you would like a vaccine. Thank you. So let's move on to personal safety. So the UK is a very safe country with low levels of crime and violence, but staff in university will also help you with any concerns. So if you've got any concerns at your accommodation or around the university, please do get in touch. They will have security staff there who will be able to help you. You will see community police officers around, perhaps around campus or around the city where you may be living, and these will be able to give you practical and reassuring advice about personal safety. Please make sure you attend the orientation course at your university because you will receive a briefing about keeping safe. But it's really important that you refer to our Staying Safe in the UK guide for detailed information about keeping safe in the UK and following local laws. Thank you, Andrea. So in case of emergencies, you can always call 999, and that is for emergencies only. So that's the police, fire, ambulance services if you need to get in touch with these. And this isn't just because you want to ask a question, this is because it's an emergency. We do have a non-emergency number in the UK, and that's 101. And that's if you just want some guidance or some help or some advice. So you can call the 101 line. But for medical non-emergencies in the UK, we always dial 111, and they will give you some practical advice. Perhaps you just want to know a bit of information, and they will be able to support you if you call that number. Thank you. So finally, I think this is the last couple of slides for me. Abiding by the law, always follow local rules and national laws. Okay, the UK is proud to be a diverse country, and you should respect all people and cultures. And failure to follow the laws could lead to a fine or a cancellation of your visa. So please do follow those local and national laws. Thank you. We've given you a lot of information in this first half of the presentation, and we will share this deck with you in case you have any more questions or there's anything that you didn't really understand. You can go through it again in a bit more detail. But if you want more information, please refer to the Study UK website, which is the link is there, and that will give you a bit more guidance as you go through the process. Okay, thank you very much for listening. And I think we're moving on now, are we, Yen?
Yes, thank you very much, Elizabeth. Moving on, let's hear from someone who is currently studying and living in the UK to share her experience. Hashini is currently doing a bar training course in the University of West of England in Bristol. Over to you, Hashini.
Thank you. Hi guys, so I'm currently, as Miss Yen mentioned, a student in the UK, and I'm just here to share a little bit about my personal experiences here in the hopes that this will help you guys prepare in coming here. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the current situation in the UK is, as previously mentioned, that there are no rules really in place, because when I first came, it was peak lockdown and things were very different. It was completely online studying. It was quite difficult to make friends, but now obviously things are very different. And even when it comes to masks, that's completely optional. I would still recommend people to wear masks in very crowded areas or public transports, but that is entirely up to you. And in terms of the university and the classes, everything has completely opened up. You know, you can go for all your societies, attend all your classes, go for your meetings. Everything is now face-to-face, so that's great for all of you coming here this autumn. And in terms of any, well, culture shocks, I would say that the biggest one I personally faced was the weather, because you know, coming from a tropical country, I really suffered my first winter here. So what I would recommend is to dress warm, buy thick duvets when you get here, thick warm robes. These are things that really help me get through winter. And well, another big thing is obviously the food, especially if you're coming from Malaysia, you're so used to you know, mamaks and things like that, but you obviously don't get that here. But the good thing is that if you're going to a place like London, or actually anywhere that you go, it's very diverse, so you can get all types of food, Indian food, Chinese food, and stuff. But as students, most of us actually just end up cooking most of the time because it gets quite expensive to eat out all the time. So you can get all your spices here. There are lots of Asian supermarkets. So these are all things that will help you. And well, another thing that I personally faced coming here was the difference in the studying style and the expectations by the university here, because when I was studying in Malaysia, it was quite different in terms of how we studied and how we were taught. But the good thing here is that the lecturers, the student support, they are wonderful. I reached out to them quite a bit in terms of getting by my assignments and my exams, and they're really, really helpful. They help you as much as they can, and there's also a very, really great mental health support team. So if you have any issues at all, if you ever feel homesick, or if you're stressed out about anything at all really, the mental health, your university's mental health support team is always an email or a call away. So do make use of these facilities that are offered, and you know, if you need any such assistance. And there's also universities also offer this PAL support team. So it's basically the peer assistant learning team, where I was a PAL leader myself. And what they do is they actually put you and a group of other students, and they assign you another student who's been there for a few years, a senior basically. And if you have any issues in terms of getting by your assignments, your exams, or if you're worried about anything or anything to do with your day-to-day life as well, you always have your PAL leader to reach out to. They're always happy to help you in any way possible, or signpost you if you need any assistance. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I'm just going to touch briefly on these things, on these few aspects that I did before coming to the UK. So in terms of packing, as mentioned earlier by Miss Yan as well, you do not need to pack your winter clothing. You do not need to pack heavy things because it's going to take up a lot of space, and it's a lot cheaper, I think, to buy it here in terms of your winter coats and your boots and stuff like that. But if you do already have things that you want to carry with you and they're very bulky, I would recommend vacuum packing your bulky items because that saves a lot of space in your bag. So that's one. And in terms of your food, because I know a lot of students, well, I was guilty of this myself. I packed like, spices and a lot of things before coming here. But you actually don't need to pack that many things because there are a lot of Asian supermarkets and there are a lot of places where you can buy these things from. So don't worry, you will not go hungry. And moving on to bank account. So when you come here, you can obviously open your bank accounts here, but this whole process for me personally took a few weeks because I had to get some letters from the university and get my BRP and get a few things sorted before I could actually get my application through. So what I would recommend students to do is to actually get yourself sorted in terms of coming here with either an international bank card, or HSBC offers this card which I used when I came here. It's called the Everyday Global Account, which you can just go to a HSBC branch and open. And that card basically has 8 different currencies in it, one of which is the GBP. And you can actually use the card here. You can tap the card here without any charges as long as you have money in the GBP account. And that was what I used to get by my first few weeks, because a lot of places I realized were cashless. And, so I brought a bit of cash with me, but I couldn't really use it a lot. So that card was a lifesaver for me until I got my UK bank card sorted. So that is something that if you're interested, you could inquire with HSBC. And then in terms of money management, so I looked at the cheapest shopping places because obviously I was here on a pretty tight budget, so that meant I would say that the cheapest places to shop would be Lidl or Aldi. That's where I usually go. And then you can also look at getting train bus passes for the area that you're at. So I'm based in Bristol, and we use the First Bus app, which I think works in quite a number of places. And if you're going to use the bus frequently, it would be a lot cheaper for you to get a weekly or a monthly bus pass as opposed to buying a bus ticket every day. So these are little things that you can do to kind of budget your living here. And as mentioned earlier, there's a lot of student discounts that you can look at. Uni Days is one of them, student beans. So these are things that you can look at. And if you do need some assistance in terms of your money management, if you're really struggling with anything, well, there's always your uni's finance team. So I know that my university, and I believe that most of the UK universities would offer this, where they have a student finance team, and they're always happy to help support you in terms of your money management and things like that if you really need assistance as such. And finally, there's the airport travel. So with this one, I would recommend that before you, or while you're booking your flight, to also at the same time arrange your travel from the airport to your university if you are not based, especially if you're not based in London, because if you're landing in Heathrow, so I was in Bristol, so Bristol to Heathrow about 2 to 3 hours. So what I did was, when I was booking my flights, I also at the same time arranged for the airport pickup with the university. So you can look out and see if your university offers such services. They'll probably offer airport pickups at certain timings, so you can either book your flights with that in accordance with that timing, or if you don't have that option, then you can look in advance for either train tickets or coaches as well. So I usually either go with the Mega Bus or the National Express. So these are things you can look at before coming so that you don't land and then struggle in terms of, how to get to your university, or if it's late at night and, if there are no buses at that hour or no trains at that hour, and then, you'll be there with your baggage. So that's a good thing to get sorted before you come. In terms of, well, this is not on my slide, but I would just like to add on, in terms of accommodation when you're booking, especially when you're going for private accommodation, and I'm suggesting this because I've seen students here go through this, especially with it's mainly with private accommodations, is to be very wary in terms of scams. So there are a lot of these Facebook pages which advertise housing, because in Bristol there's a major housing crisis. So there are a lot of houses being advertised on Facebook, but before you sign any contract, or basically before you sign any contract or before you pay any money, either the deposit or a lump sum in advance, I suggest that you bring the contract to your uni and utilize your university's student union facilities. Ask them to take a look at the contract, make sure it's legitimate, and just make sure you're not getting scammed, because I've seen many students get scammed here. So that's something you would like to avoid. So that's just one tip to bear in mind. And lastly, about the summer. So there were some questions about staying on in the UK in the summer. So I think that depends on your student status. So if you are a first or a second year student and you still have another year or two to go, I think depending on your BRP, so your BRP is likely to last you until the end of your course. So you would be able to go back to Malaysia if you'd like and come back, or you can stay on in the summer and work if you'd like, or travel or anything. That's completely fine. But if you are a final year or a postgrad student who's finishing, then it's very important to take your end of visa date into account. So basically, if you're looking to hop onto the 2-year postgrad visa, you are advised not to leave the UK. Of course, you can double check this with the visa services later on. But as far as I know, you're advised not to leave the UK until you have received your new visa, if you're looking to hop onto the postgrad. Otherwise, as long as your BRP is valid, I believe that going back to your home country and coming back is not a problem. Or you can stay on here as well, as long as your BRP is valid. But if you have any queries, you can always contact the immigration team of your university, or you can always call up the UK Home Office. They are actually very, very helpful. You can ask them, you can tell them your situation, tell them your visa dates, and they can advise you accordingly. So that's what I would say in regards to staying on in the summer. And also, if you'd like to work, if you are a full-time student during term time, which is basically September until, depending on your course, but for most courses for undergrad around May, you're allowed to work up to a maximum of 20 hours per week. So just make sure you do not exceed that. Very important for you to make sure, because sometimes your employer might not take note of these things, but it's important for you to keep track of the number of hours that you're working. But off-term time hours, you are allowed to work. So as long as off-term time, meaning as long as you do not have any classes going on in your, it's most likely the summer, you can work. You can work as many hours as you can. You can work like full-time jobs. So during the summer last year, I worked in a restaurant, and I worked full-time, and there were no issues with that. But these are things that you just need to keep track with, and these will all be things that will be stated on your BRP. So just little minute details to take note of. That will be all from me. If you guys have any further questions, I'm here and happy to answer them. Thank you.
That was an awesome sharing, Hashini. Thank you very much. Okay, so I guess she has already answered some of the questions about the summer, and also about the account opening, financials and such. So now let us hear from an alumnus for a change. Lee Jian Zhang, or also known as Edwin, was formerly a student of BPP University. So let's hear from him. Over to you, Edwin.
Yeah. Hi. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. And first of all, I will thank all my learners friends beforehand that gave amazing tips and have shared their stories and all in the UK. So first of all, I will give a brief background of me. So I did a 2+1 program from the University of Liverpool for the law, and then I continued on for my bar in Manchester, which is a PVP University. So this is a brief information about me. So now I'm resigning. I really obviously completed both courses. So now I'm resigning back in my home country, which is Malaysia. Moving on. So I'd like to give a brief a guideline to all of you. Let's just say that within the first 2 weeks that you come to upon arrival to the UK. So the first thing mainly is as mentioned my learner friends, to collect BRP. Basically, BRP acts like your identification card in the UK. So you don't need to, let's say, keep on carrying out your passport. Your passport is a very sensitive document. Once you lose it, you're going to be in big trouble. So the BRP actually is the identification card for all of us in the UK. So first thing first, obviously, when you settle down, you try to have a quick run. I think usually it's either on campus or with the post office, so you can see where is the post office. So you will get your BRP in the post office, and then you carry around the BRP with you. Secondly, as is the opening of bank account. As previously mentioned, if you bring loads of cash around the UK, it's going to be a risk. It's a high risk. Maybe you get pickpocketed, etc., or maybe you lose it. So this one I'll elaborate further on my slides, and but this is a very important step to be done quickly, because you need to deposit all your monies and all. You can't be every time using, let's say you have a visa and all, your exchange rates is quite big, ×5 and also it's a very big sum to consider about. And then the third thing is familiarize your campus layout. So within the first 2 weeks when classes haven't started and etc., try to get your, let's say, an outlook of your whole campus, and then you try to, let's say, walk to any building. Let's say your lecture is going to be happening at building A, for example. So why not take, in your free time, just take a walk and familiarize how long does it take to walk to maybe campus to building A. Maybe it takes 5 minutes, maybe it takes 10 minutes. So familiarize your layout so you won't be late for class on your first day of school. Then the fourth thing, which is collect the student ID. Basically, this one, if you want to go to the library and all, a student ID is needed to go to the library. So maybe you can go to the student records office and then show your confirmation letter and say that, okay, I'm already registered. Can you give me the student ID? So once you have a student ID, you can access most of the facilities. Let's say, as I said, the library, the gym, or maybe as my learner friend mentioned, discount. So sometimes you need student IDs to register for the discount. So that's quite important for the student ID collection part. And then the fifth thing is obviously buying basic living necessity. So basically, your accommodation will be just, giving you a mattress and all, etc. You don't have any, let's say, toilet paper, pillows, and also you obviously want to get all these things sorted before you have sleep. You can settle down in your own accommodation. So the best way is get these 5 things done within first to second week. Once you are in the UK. So, and then for the second week, third week, and then to the end of the month, so you can start to apply for rail cards, bus passes, Oyster card, or if you're in London, the Oyster card is needed because you need to travel to the tube, so you need to use the Oyster card to, basically it works like a touch and go in Malaysia, so you need to use that and to travel along the tube. And also the second thing, which is you can familiarize all the shops around the area. As mentioned, it's a very cultural melting pot, the UK. So you can find a lot of shops that sells what you want. So take a walk or maybe a bus trip down to maybe the city center. So take a look around, see where is the shops all, what are they selling, and also next time maybe you want to get those things that you want, you can find it easily. And then the third thing is usually universities, they will organize welcome week, freshers weeks, and also join them and then get some, they usually will give some coupons and all, discounts on all, free food, etc., etc. So I guess that you can save a bit of money there by just joining in all these events and then get to know new people, so you won't feel alone and all, and then maybe you will meet new friends and all, and along the way lah. Okay, so the next slide will be my typical week during my undergrad days. So my final year, we took 4 subjects. So you can see that it's quite spread out. So I think usually they, if I'm not mistaken, during my time they have they had a meeting. So they said they're going to abolish 9 o'clock classes. So thankfully there was no more 9 a.m. lecturers. So because getting up in the winter, as you know, 9 o'clock is going to be around 1 to 2 Celsius, and most of the time it's hard to get up from your warm and comfy bed. So usually classes all they start at 10 o'clock and then they end at 6 o'clock. So depending on each uni, as a disclaimer, each uni or university or school is different. So this is just a rough guideline and how an undergrad week works. Usually, typically in the week you have a 1-day break. So for me, it's a Wednesday. So the whole Wednesday is free. So it's up to you to plan what you want to do. And I want to say that postgrad is different for everyone. So my postgrad is quite hectic because it's a professional course. But for maybe research-based postgrads, maybe you have more free time. So as I said, it depends on what course you are undertaking. So it varies for postgrad. So maybe you're more research-based. You need maybe most of the time you are just meeting your professor, etc., or you are more examination-based like me. So you have you need to do more time. But basically, the undergrad timetable of a student in UK will look like this lah. Okay. Moving on. So examination. So in UK examination, there's two major scopes that are conduct. So first of all, it's fully coursework based, and then the second one is fully written examination. Basically, you sit in the hall and then you write out your answers and all. So both of them, depending on which university you are going to, either you are going to be assessed the half of the semester or at the end of the semester, meaning that the end of before you graduate or before you end your year, you're going to be assessed during that period. And a best way to find out which module or subjects that are either coursework or you are going to be assessed to with an exam is to refer a module guide. Basically, every university or any university, they will give a module guide. Let's say today I'm taking module A, so they'll list down, okay, module A, there's a module guide for module A, so either that module is going to be conducted for the examination to be graded is either for coursework or written examination, and when are they going to be assessed, maybe half a semester or the full semester. So always refer to your module guide and double check which module is written examination or coursework based. Next one, I'll go to examination tips. So as I previously mentioned on the previous slide, there's 2 main modes of examinations in the UK. So first of all, as I said, I'll go to the written examination. Right? So as I said, written examination, maybe sometimes let's say the book has 500 pages, very bulky, or 10 topics. So first of all, my first point of contact will be the course outline or module guide, as previously mentioned. So they will show actually what the lecturers are going to teach during the whole semester or half of the semester. So maybe out of the 10 topics, the whole course is going to be only revolving maybe 5 to 6 topics only. Maybe the other 3 they are not focusing for this semester. So always refer to your module outline to see where is the areas that the lecturers are going to teach, and then you can revise accordingly. And then secondly, lecturers during lectures, they sometimes will give hints, and also maybe they'll say, oh, this is an important area, so please do make sure that you all have revive this area. And also you can take it as a hint to say that, oh, actually this area is going to be coming up in the exams, so maybe we can focus more on that particular area. And then obviously past year questions, usually this one is available. You can just email your lecturers, and then they are really very willing to share the previous year's questions, so we can always know what kind of areas usually they cover, or etc. etc. And hopping on to the right hand side, which is coursework style. So coursework style, it's let's say it's a given date. Let's say by August you need to submit. August 1st you need to submit your coursework. So my advice obviously is going to be start early, because generally the studying for the teaching style and studying style in the UK, lecturers are more expected you to be more quite independent. They won't nag and say, oh, okay, next week is going to be the due date for for the assessment. They generally won't keep on repeating and say, okay, your assessment is going to be due, in 1 week. So they won't say, just keep note of your start date and then the day that you're supposed to hand in your coursework. And also, second thing you cannot stress enough is citation, because coursework usually we need to reference from a lot of places. So citation is one of the places that the lecturers all look very carefully. The examiners look very carefully into your citation. If you don't cite, you might be penalized for plagiarism. So if your plagiarism is over, let's say 20% or 15%, so you will get penalized, or maybe you might fail the subject. So I mean, nobody wants that to happen. So citation of all the materials, etc., is very important. And also following that, and then also obviously conduct discussion within your friends, groupmates, or etc. But if it's an individual coursework, it's best to know that if you take it with a pinch of salt, maybe let's say I share to you a piece of article, you quote the same article, but both also get plagiarized. So we need to be smart and all to listen to what people sharing to you, or you don't copy blindly from people that are just share to use and all, take their resources and all, and then use it for your own. So you indirectly be putting them into danger as well, because they share to you, you use their things, so both of you maybe gets lower marks because the lecturer found out that you all both are your copying. So prevent that. So discuss wisely. Maybe you can share, but you do it on your own and all. Take it as advice or guidance like that. And then for coursework, if you really don't understand or if you're lost, always email your tutor or lecturer via email. They'll respond very, very fast and all. Or maybe you're not comfortable with emails, you want to seek a face-to-face meeting with your lecturer or tutor, you can always email them and then ask for a timing to sit down and then explain what problems you're facing with your coursework. They will be very happy to sit down and then point you in the right direction for your coursework. Obviously, they want us to be successful, they don't want us to fail us on purpose. So, yeah. Moving on. Okay, so I'll go for the challenges faced. So first of all, really is the weather. The weather can change. Within 30 minutes, it's going to be sunny. Another 30 minutes, it's going to rain. So this is a very apparent occurrence in the UK. So obviously the weather, sometimes you forget to bring your maybe umbrella, or forget to bring your hoodie, so you may be drenched. So the weather is going to be a very important factor. So you might get sick and all. So because you're drenched in rain and all, etc., etc. Second thing I want to point out is the accent. So maybe you're going to maybe Scotland, they have their own Scottish accent. So sometimes it's very hard to understand for what they are saying. So you might need to ask them to repeat a few times, or maybe you are going to Welsh, Cardiff and all. They also have their own accent. So even though we are speaking English, but we all takes time to really listen or what they are saying to us. And then third thing, obviously time management, because as I said, you are in the UK, maybe your first time being there, you're out of your parents' dream, you have all the free time to do anything you want. So my advice is really, obviously you're not asking you to be studying 24/7 and all locked in your room, but obviously you must segregate your time for studies, play, and then obviously travel. So the best thing is you can buy those planners, and also you can plan actually what you want to do on that specific day, when is the important dates, examination dates, etc. So maybe buy a planner today, or maybe now you don't be so old-fashioned, you can use obviously Google Calendar, etc. So it's up to you on how you want to do your time planning. Then fourth thing, homesickness. Many people face this thing. So maybe for me, how do I cope with this? I will do weekly FaceTime, or usually FaceTime, or maybe any other Zoom and all with my parents and my grandmother, and also I won't feel so. Obviously you won't do it daily, because daily you'll feel nothing to talk. So mostly I will do it weekly, or maybe for you want it to be monthly. So just share with them how are you doing in the UK, or etc. etc. So it eliminates the homesickness part. And also obviously maybe you can find a group of friends to go together that you know to the UK and study together, live together. So maybe you're not that homesickness. So that might be so an advantage for you if you are traveling with friends or to the same university to study. Then the last one will be, as my learner friend just also said, financial management. I think now a lot of banks, they have apps to track your usage. So I feel that, and then you can set your limit once you hit your, let's say this week I've spent £200 already. Usually the banks, you can just log into your bank app and then you can see actually what have you spent this month. So financial management is very crucial. So also I can advise that maybe use you can track yourself. If you are the old-fashioned way, you just write down what is your expenses and all in a book or anything, so you can track down. Or if you're more digital savvy, you can always use an app and all to check your finances and all. Okay. One will be bank account. So bank account, I will recommend the top big four as what they say in the UK. So Barclays, Lloyds, NatWest, and HSBC UK. As my brother said, is if you have already at HSBC, you can obviously, in Malaysia, you can always open a HSBC, and so it's been very useful. So because HSBC, for me, I personally use Barclays during my time in the UK. So my parents use Maybank to transfer the funds all to me. So for my case study would be they will transfer in, let's say in the morning of today, let's say 10 a.m. I will receive the money on the same day. I think in my account, my Barclays around at 5 to 6 p.m. UK time on the same day. So it's a quite quick process. So it won't be, let's say, quite a long process. And I think I've attached an image and all in this slide. You can press it. Oh, is it there? Yeah, so basically once, like as I said, during your first 2 weeks, the bank detects a very influx of students coming in to open their bank account and all. So one good thing that banks or sometimes for international payments, or they already write out what that means that how do you actually transfer your money or to your UK account from let's say Maybank. So as I said, they have this board, so I just took this picture and then I forwarded to my parents so they know what to key in Malaysia to send the money over, or maybe other countries to send the money over into your UK bank account. So I always recommend the first 2 weeks, because there's a lot of people that are going to do open student accounts. So most of the staff there will know that you're a student and you're going to open a student account. So they will assist you accordingly, and then they will guide you accordingly. And then what's the steps, what's the forms to fill out, what's your, let's say maybe you need to show your BRP or confirmation of studies and all to open a bank account. And also I know now, I think there's a lot of those digital banks, Monzo or some that's quite happening, but you can also open those accounts. I think the application process, you don't need to walk in because they are digital bank. There's no physical branches of the bank, so you can apply online and then the card will get sent to your address. So you can, the same way it function as a normal bank account, but just bear in mind that this is non-physical. If anything happens or anything bank loss and all, you are going to be dealing with them all through online or maybe emails and all to handle your problems. There's no physical, let's say there are no physical branches, let's say for HSBC, Barclays or NatWest, you can just walk into any branch and then say, hey, I got a problem with my card, or maybe my card is damaged in the rain or etc. So it's up to you what kind of bank you choose. So maybe you want that kind of, let's say Monzo, you want to open separate to manage your finances. Maybe you say, okay, I have, maybe HSBC is my main one. I also going to separate a different account. I open a Monzo, so maybe I'll put a bit of funds into my Monzo account separate from my main account. Maybe let's say your main account is mostly to pay your accommodation, rental and all, so you don't touch that sum of money, but your Monzo account you can transfer over from HSBC to your Monzo to maybe, let's say, for your expenses and all your leisure purposes or groceries. So it's up to you how you want to open your manage your finances with all these banks in the UK. So moving on to some notable places and all. So first of all, my learner friend said that there's a few grocery brands. The top three, I would say that the cheapest one is Lidl, Aldi, and Tesco. So there's also the more expensive ones like Marks and Spencer, Co-op, all the all the places also, but students, we usually go for all these more economical choices. So these are top 3. Mostly they are located in the city center or maybe a bit outskirts from the place that you might be staying. So just try to Google and see where's the closest ones that are closest to you. And the second one would be for household supplies. So as I previously mentioned, first or second week, so you need to buy all our household supplies. So I recommend Wilko and Primark. So these two are the main things. Wilko mostly sells those pots and pans, cutlery and all. So and then the second one will be Primark. Primark, they sell also clothes and also bed sheets and bedding and all, pillows, and also both of them you can have a look. Also their prices are very economical. So okay, my final slide will be additional tips and tricks. So first of all, I would say UK is a good base to go to any other countries, maybe European countries that you like. So first of all is plan ahead for any traveling. So even in the mainland UK or within UK, so fares will vary by demand. Let's say you want to travel to London from Manchester, let's say tomorrow, the fare is going to be higher than you're going to be booked compared to you're going to book the same train journey or bus journey a week before. So always try to plan ahead because the fares will vary due to demand, maybe peak hour or peak hour. So that's the thing to keep in mind. And also, secondly, my friend also just now mentioned Unidays for the so it's quite a useful app. So you can see what brands are going to offer discounts. So you can just scroll around. And then third one, I cannot stress enough. I don't know if it's still viable now. So for students, they're going to be Amazon Prime student, free for 1 year. So you can get it's basically like the Shopee or Lazada in Malaysia, but it's very good because for Amazon Prime, you can get next day delivery. Let's say you want the thing, the next day is going to be there on your doorstep. So it's a very good thing to check out if you want to buy online stuff and all from Amazon, because we don't have Shopee or Lazada in the UK. We only we have most of them we use Amazon for any online shopping or eBay but usually I prefer Amazon. And then fourth thing would be check the weather app. Very important. Let's say today, should I take the umbrella out or not, or should I wear more thicker? So always check the weather app. 90% of the time it's going to be accurate, so don't doubt the weather app. And then invest in a good pair of shoes and umbrella. Obviously, you're going to spend a lot of time walking there, so obviously a good comfy pair of shoes is a must. And then obviously umbrella, which is going to be those big one, and also the small, the one that you can put at the side of your bag, all is sufficient. A good one meaning that it's not prone to wind. Sometimes it's quite windy in the UK, so your umbrella won't be sanged, once the wind is going to blow. So that's thing. And then obviously sometimes you might be, the thing is a bit far. So obviously download a few apps, let's say Uber, Ola, and Bolt for any taxi services. And obviously you can also try out the black cab, or usually the fares are going to be around the same. So depending on your own preference. So if you want e-hailing services, obviously Uber and Ola is quite mainstay in UK now. And then obviously if you're going to bring, let's say you're going to bring your winter clothing, or obviously if you already have, so obviously you can go to Daiso or Daiso Malaysia and all to buy their vacuum pack, and then you can vacuum your winter clothing and all if you already have into your luggage, and also your any other small items and all. It's generally quite cheap. I think for one bag it's going to cost around 5 ringgit, and also you can just buy a few and then reuse when you're going to come back to the Malaysia as well. So this is all for my sharing and all. I hope you enjoy. Any question, feel free to put in the Q&A. Thanks. And then also enjoy your stay in the UK. Thanks.
Right, thank you very much, Edwin. That was a very useful sharing, and I'm sure students here will find it very useful. Without further ado, let us now move on to student visa. I see a lot of questions there, so we will have a presentation by Jamie from UKVI. Over to you, Jamie.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you, British Council, for inviting UKVI and me. I'm a customer account manager from UKVI. I'm based in Beijing. So for this presentation, we are going to cover the visa application process, visa options for students, student visa supporting document checklist, common reasons for refusals of your visa application, and post-study options for students. Next slide, please. Very quickly, I'll give you the student figures for March 2022. We've issued over 466,000 student visas globally. UK student visa globally. That is 58% more than last year's data. 6,700 of which were issued to Malaysian nationals. Next slide, please. This time around, we'll talk about the UK visa application process. So as you can see, there are 3 parts. One is prepare or pre-application. Step 1, you have to obtain a confirmation of acceptance for studies from your licensed course provider. Step 2, you need to check the visa route. We have 2. We've got student and child student visa. You can apply for a student visa to study in the UK if you're over 16 and you have been offered a place in a course by a licensed student sponsor, have enough money to support yourself and pay for your course. The amount will vary depending on your circumstances. Can speak, read, write, and understand English. Have consent from your parents if you're 16 or 17 years old, and you'll need to provide evidence of this when you apply. And if you're under 18 and you wish to study at an independent school, you may be eligible for a child student visa. The last step on pre-application would be prepare the evidence that you need. In general, you would need a valid passport and a CAS or a confirmation of acceptance for studies. You would need to provide proof that you have enough money to support yourself and pay for your course. I mentioned earlier that the amount will vary depending on your circumstances and where you'll be studying in the UK. You will need to prove your knowledge of the English language by passing a secured English language test or a SELP from an approved provider. An applicant will meet the English language requirement if they are applying for a course of study at degree level or above, and their sponsor is a higher education provider with a track record of compliance. Your sponsor should state on the CAS that they have assessed your English language ability and how they have assessed it. Residents of Malaysia would require a TB certificate if they'll be staying in the UK for more than 6 months. Please check our website for the approved clinics. Depending on the course of study and your nationality, you may be required an ATAS certificate or an Academic Technology Approval Scheme certificate. Your course provider would let you know as well if this is required in your application. Malaysian nationals are eligible to apply under the differentiation arrangements, which means you're not required to include evidence of finance and qualification with your visa application. However, UKVI can request for these evidence while your application is being considered, so please ensure that these requirements are met. Documents that are not in English or Welsh will need to be provided a fully certified translation. Now we go on to part 2, which is apply. Apply for your student visa via the gov.uk website and answer the questions relevant to the visa you're applying for. Then you will have to pay for the relevant fees. The fee for a student visa is £363. International students who will stay in the UK for more than 6 months are required to pay for the health surcharge fee, which is £470 per year. Once you've paid the fees, you will be given a reference number with a GWF number at the beginning. Please make a note of this, as this will be helpful should you need to make amendments on your visa application or your biometric appointments. After finishing the online application on their gov.uk website, you will be redirected to our commercial partner website for you to book an appointment to submit biometrics and for your photograph to be captured. On the same website, you are to upload your supporting documents. If you do not have a scanner available or would you like some help with this, we can ask the Visa Application Center to scan your documents or use their document scanning assistance option. This service will incur a fee. You'll also have the opportunity to select additional optional services from our commercial partner VFS Global, which is designed to make your application process easier and more relaxed. The last part is your experience at the VAC or the Visa Application Center. On the day of the appointment, Please bring your passport, confirmation of appointment, and a printout of your checklist. Please check the WAC website for full information as this may change. At the back, you will be asked to submit your passport and biometric information. I mentioned earlier that you may choose to ask our commercial partner to scan and upload the documents on your behalf, but this will have a fee. The standard processing time for student visa application currently is 3 weeks. We don't have a priority visa service for students at the moment. Next slide, please. As of today, we currently have one visa application center in Malaysia, which is in Kuala Lumpur. However, from tomorrow, our visa application centers in Sabah and Sarawak will begin operations. Both will be open for 2 days a week initially. And you can now book an appointment to both locations. For more information, please check our visa application center website for their schedule and opening times. Next slide, please. I mentioned earlier that the student visa applications are processed within the service standard, which is 3 weeks. At the moment, a priority visa service is not available for students. Next slide, please. Moving on to the student route visa type. The student route improves on previous Tier 4 visa, making it simpler, more streamlined, and creating clearer pathways for students, ensuring the UK remains competitive in the changing global education market. We continue to welcome international students. We place no limit on their numbers, and we remain committed to increasing the number of international higher education students in the UK to 600,000 by 2030, as set out in the government's international education strategy. To apply for a student visa, you would need to be at least 16 years old and have been offered a place on a course by a licensed education institution. If you're under 18 and you wish to study at independent school, you may be eligible for a child student visa. Please make sure that your education provider where you plan to study is listed in the Register of Licensed Sponsor for students. Next slide, please. Focusing on the student visa this time, for eligibility, you can apply for a student visa to study in the UK if you're 16 and over, and you have been offered a place in a course by a licensed student sponsor. To prove this, your education provider will send you a reference number and a confirmation of acceptance of studies or CAS. You need a CAS before you can apply for your visa. You also need to show that you have enough money to support yourself and pay for your course. The amount will vary depending on your circumstances. You would need to show that you have enough money to pay for your course for 1 academic year and living expenses for up to 9 months. Your course fee will be on your CAS, and you will also need to show that you have enough money to support yourself, which is dependent on where you will be studying. You would need £1,334 per month for up to 9 months if your course is in London, and £1,023 per month for up to 9 months if your course is outside London. I mentioned earlier that you need to prove that you can read, speak, write, and understand English. You would need to prove this by passing a secured English language test or CELT and submitting it with your visa application. You can take a CELT from our approved service provider. If you're studying at degree level or above, your higher education provider can assess your levels of English themselves, but they would need to indicate this on the CAS as proof that you meet the requirement and how they made the assessment. Also, if you are under 18, you would need to submit a consent letter from your parents that allows you to study in the UK. Next slide, please. Under ST 22.1 of the immigration rules, nationals of the countries listed listed on the slide qualify for the differentiation arrangement, which means if your nationality is one of the ones listed, you are not required to include the evidence of finances and qualifications with your visa application. However, UKVI can request for the evidence while your application is being considered. So please ensure that these requirements are met. As you can see, Malaysia is on the list, which means that Malaysian nationals applying for a student visa fall under the differentiation arrangement. I would just like to clarify as well that please, although Malaysia is under the differentiation arrangement, there is a chance or UKVI may request for your financial and qualification evidence. So please make sure that you meet these requirements. Next slide, please. This is a list of supporting documents. This is in general, so some students may need to submit more or less of the documents listed. So in general, you would need a passport and or a valid travel document. You would need a CAS. You would need to pay for the health surcharge, and once paid, you will get a reference number, which you will add on to the online application form. So this allows you to access to national health services in the UK, and it must be paid on your. It must be paid prior to submitting biometrics. Parental consent, which is required for all students under 18 years old. Proof of a parent-child relationship in the forms of birth certificate or family registers, especially if the parents will be supporting the applicant's study expenses in the UK and if the applicant is a minor. Care arrangements for child student visa applications who are not traveling with their parents or guardian. Evidence of finance. You must have enough money to pay for your course and support yourself in the UK. How much money I mentioned earlier would depend on your circumstances and where you'll be studying. You must have this money for at least 28 days, and the end of the 28-day period must be within 31 days of the date you apply for your visa. Other documents listed on the CAS, so these would be your qualifications. These are the documents used to obtain an offer of a place on the course of study from the student sponsor or your education institution. The school will list these documents on the CAS. Examples of these are your transcripts, self-certificates, or other qualifications. If your university has indicated on your CAS that they have assessed your English language competency, then you do not need to submit your English language certificate. However, like I said, it should be mentioned on the CAS. Under the differentiation arrangements, Malaysian nationals do not provide evidence of finance and qualifications at the point of application. However, though, I keep repeating, you need to make sure that you have these requirements and you meet these requirements, as UKVI may ask for these while your application is being assessed. ATAS stands for Academic Technology Approval Scheme. It is a certificate that must be issued to students intending to study or to do research in certain sensitive topics. The student sponsor will provide details on how to apply for this certificate as well. However, as mentioned, you would need this on your application. TB certificate. Residents of Malaysia will need to provide a valid medical certificate confirming that they have undergone screening for active pulmonary tuberculosis and that this tuberculosis is not present in them if they intend to stay in the UK for 6 months or more. There are a few home office approved clinics in Malaysia who could provide, where you could take the test and provide the certificates. Please make sure that you check our website for the list of these approved clinics. There are other docs that you may need to submit with your application, such as English translation. If you submit a document that is not in English or Welsh, it should be accompanied by a full translation that can be independently verified by the Home Office. Also, evidence of previous travel if relevant. There is a link below on the slide. Please make sure that you check that link and ensure that you would follow the instructions before making an application. Next slide, please. This is a question. One of the questions I saw from the Q&A. An individual is allowed to work on a student visa. How much would depend on what you're studying and whether you're working in or out of school term. If you are on a full-time course at degree level or above at a higher education provider with a track record of compliance, you're allowed to work 20 hours per week during term time and full-time during vacations. Next slide, please. Now we shall discuss next steps after your visa has been decided and your biometric residence permit. Once your visa has been decided and it's successful, you will be issued a 30 or 90-day visa and a BRP letter, which has information on the validity of your BRP card. Basically, it's your full leave or duration of your stay in the UK, plus additional months, and location so to collect it from. Number 2, you may start to prepare to travel. Check what you need to do before you leave for the UK. Attending pre-departure briefings will be very, very helpful. Number 3, you need to enter the UK within the validity of your 30 or 90-day visa and collect your BRP or biometric residence permit within 10 days on arrival. Next slide, please. So now let's discuss common reasons for refusal. So I mentioned earlier that you need to make sure that you know all the documents required, as you can see from the common reasons for refusals are listed. So not including correct supporting documents or submitting documents without translations, failing to disclose full travel or immigration history, not providing evidence of relationship between you and your parents, guardian, or sponsors, or even consent letters from parents, and forgetting to include a TB certificate and or an ATAS certificate if applicable. Sometimes students do not require a TB certificate. There is a list of exemptions. But if you feel that you're exempted from submitting this document, you need to include an explanation letter as to why, so that the officer will understand why you did not include this document. Next slide, please. Post-study options. The UK has a number of employment opportunities for students when they complete their studies. The new graduate route has opened for application July last year, allowing the UK to return the brightest and the best international students to continue to contribute to society and the economy post-study. Other post-study option is to apply for one of the following. There's the skilled worker visa for long-term work. There is a temporary worker visa. These are like for short-term visa or internships, or you can start up your own business in the UK, such as a startup visa. Majority of the students will be given additional months on their visa after their course ends. This would allow students to apply for visas if they wish to stay. Next slide, please. Eligibility for the graduate route. We want to ensure that we retain the brightest and the best students to continue to contribute to the UK post-study. The graduate route, which was launched July last year, allows international students who have completed a degree to stay in the UK for 2 years and 3 years for PhD students at any work or skill level, and to switch into a skilled worker route if they find a suitable job. Only students with a valid student visa who are inside the UK at the time of application will be eligible for the graduate route. Students will not be able to make a valid application for a graduate route outside the UK, and those without a valid student visa will not be able to apply. This route is not extendable and does not count towards settlement. However, graduates who find an appropriate job and meet the requirements will be able to switch into a skilled worker visa, which is a route to settlement. Next slide, please. From 18th of March this year, all remaining COVID-related travel restrictions have been removed. So when you travel to England, you do not need to complete a UK passenger locator form before you travel. You do not need to take a COVID-19 test before you travel or after you arrive. You do not need to quarantine when you arrive. And this applies to all those who are vaccinated or not. This also includes people who are transiting through England. Other countries may have rules about what you need to do to leave the country or to travel to England. So please check the travel advice for the country you are traveling from. Next slide, please. You may contact your QBI via phone or email, and to do so, please check the website on the slide so you get an option as to how you can contact us. These services are user pay, so you need to pay for these services. Last slide. Thank you. So these are useful links for those applying for visa. There is a student route visa guidance, approved south centers if you wish to apply or take the test for English language, secured English language test. So it will have a list of UK visa providers and test providers and what the requirement that you need. Also, information about biometric residence permits, TB tests. So I mentioned earlier, per country that is required a TB test, we have a list of official clinics. And our visa application center, VFS. So there is the global one and there is one for Malaysia. And that would be all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie, for the thorough explanation on student visa. In the interest of time, we have kind of overrun a little bit. So I believe we kind of answer quite a number of questions on the Q&A, and a lot of the questions are being answered by Jamie in her presentation. Mostly are visas related, right? So what we will do is we will collate those questions that were not answered in the presentation and also not answered in the chat box, and we will answer them and send it over to you. But meanwhile, we will, we understand the urgency, so we will be sending over the slides as well as the recordings within this week. As for the FAQs, we will try to compile everything and send over probably next week. Okay, so thank you very much for attending. And yes, best wishes on your new journey. Thank you.